Yeah, so let's cover the Unit 2 exam review. Now, this is the first one, and this I didn't print it out because there's not enough space to write in between it. Let me show you a little trick that I have used over the years for those who struggle with understanding this. Instead of putting lines underneath everything, the first thing you need to do is observe the fact that this is addition. I know it says it's addition on the review, but please keep in mind that, or it says add. I'm not going to say that on the exam. You're going to need to understand to look for the operator, look for who's in between the two polynomials. And this is addition. So because this is addition, no signs are changing for the different terms. So all we need to do is stack them. So I like to put the like terms together. Like terms means they both have the same variable and they both have the same exponent. That's the only way you can add things is if they, one, have a variable that is the same exponent, all right? Or they're both constants, which means no variable. So I'm just going to leave this polynomial like it is and move this one underneath it, stacking the ones that are like terms. So 14x cubed plus 3x squared minus 11x minus 7. And I'm just going to draw a line and add them the way we learned back in the day. So negative 6 plus 14, use your calculator, negative 6 plus 14 is 8. So 8x cubed. 7 plus 3 is 10x squared. Negative and a negative. So that means you add them and keep the like term, the like sign. 9 plus 11 is 20. Don't forget your x. And then positive 3 minus 7. Because the signs are different, you subtract them and take the sign of a larger number. You can also put it in your calculator. That is your answer for the first one. Let's look at the second one. It is addition as well. If you didn't do this on the previous one, please pause the video for each one of these, or at least have given this a try to do your entire review before watching this. If you haven't done it, then do them as we go. Pause the video now, attempt the next one before you watch me do it. It's not going to benefit you if you just watch me. This is not a lecture. This is a review. This is preparing you or making sure that you're prepared for the exam. If you're treating it like a lecture, you're not going to do well. All right, so let me get this written down. 7x squared minus 8xy plus y squared plus negative 8x squared minus 9xy plus 4y squared. Now, if you just want to do them side by side, perfectly fine. But again, I find that students who have been struggling with this typically do well. Just make sure you're keeping your like terms together and verify that this is addition and that these signs do not change. They are stacked, so now we can just add our like terms. So 7 minus 8 is negative 1x squared. Signs are the same, so negative 17xy. And then 4 plus, remember there's an assumed 1 here, 4 plus 1 is 5y squared. Now this next one says subtract. Again, I will not put these words, add, subtract. I'll use simplify completely, but add and subtract, you're going to need to observe what's happening in the situation. Again, please pause the video, attempt to do it yourself, and then come back and see how you did. Especially if you don't get the answers that are on the second page of the review. All right, so the first thing I see here is we've got an operator that is subtraction. So we have to just assume this is like a negative 1, and we have to distribute this to every single term in this polynomial, in this trinomial. So I'm going to rewrite this one. Actually, yeah, I'm going to rewrite it. 7x squared minus 9x plus 2. And now once I distribute it, I don't need the parentheses anymore. So negative times a positive is negative 4x cubed. Negative times a negative is positive 2x. And negative times a negative is positive 7. I can stack these now. I can go negative 4x cubed. Oh, is that a cube? It is, and that's a square. We can't combine those. Ooh, so I'm just going to write negative 4x cubed plus 7x squared, because we only have one of each of those. So those two are gone. Negative 9 plus 2 is negative 7x. And then 2 plus 7 is 9. Ah, a little tricky trick. All right. Number 4. 13x cubed y squared minus 5x squared y minus 9x squared minus 11x cubed y squared. Plus 4. Whew. Okay, I'm just going to rewrite the first trinomial. Okay, and then I have to remember, assume this is a -1. Pause the video if you've not attempted this, please, and then come back. So this just changes the sign of each one of these terms because it's just a negative. So negative 11x cubed y squared plus 6x squared y plus 3x squared and minus 4. All right, you can stack them if you want because there's so much writing with this. I'm just going to do this. So these two are the same. So 13 minus 11 is 2x cubed y squared. Then we've got an x squared y, x squared y. Negative 5 plus 6 is 1. So x squared y. And then we've got negative 9x squared plus 3x squared is negative 6x squared. And then we've got a cute little negative 4 hanging out there. All right, 5 is simplify completely. Got x to the 20th times x cubed. When the bases are the same, and that's the x's are the base. When the bases are the same, you add your exponents when you're multiplying. When multiplying bases that are the same, add exponents. When multiplying bases are the same, you add exponents. So this becomes x to the 23rd. If it helps you, go for your notes, x to the 20 plus 3, and that's x to the 23. All right, 6 is when you have a base, when you have an exponent raised to an exponent, is what I always say. I'm trying to give you the words that I use. For number 5, when multiplying, the bases are the same, you add your exponents. When you have an exponent raised to an exponent, you multiply. We have an exponent raised to an exponent, you multiply. So this becomes x to the 20 times 5, which is x to the 100. All right, 7. Again, if you have not done these prior to watching me, please attempt this and then come back to see how you did. Negative 4, x to the 10th cubed. Okay, so this is the same thing as negative 4 cubed and then x to the 10th cubed. These are not added, they're multiplied because they're right next to each other. If they were added, there'd be a cute little plus sign here, but there's not. So these are multiplied. Negative 4 cubed is negative 4 times 4, 16, 64. And then x to the, you got an exponent raised to an exponent, so you multiply them, x to the 30th. Go to 8. 5x to the negative 7, 6x squared. Now you always want to have positive exponents. Just one of the rules of math. You want positive exponents. But before we can even think about that, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and combine these. I want to simplify this, and then I will put them where they need to be. 5 times 6 is 30. Now you've got your multiplying. This is x. I'm going to write it, x to the negative 7 times x squared, right? When you're multiplying the same bases, you add your exponents. So 30x to the negative 5, because this is going to be x to the negative 7 plus 2. You add your exponents, which becomes negative 5. Now, as I said before I started this, you want to have positive exponents. So to make this positive, you have to move Move x to the -5 to the bottom, and it'll become x to the 5th. All right, let's go to 9. We've got x to the 4th times x to the -2 over x to the -6. I'm not going to deal with the denominator yet. I'm only going to deal with the fact that I've got multiplication of the same base. And when you're multiplying the same bases, you add. So 4 plus -2 is 4 minus 2 over x to the -6. 4 minus 2 is 2 over x to the -6. Now, we do not want any negative bases, and we haven't even simplified completely because we have two x's here. So to make that -6 positive, I need to move it up top to the numerator. So this is equal to x squared times x to the 6th. Again, when you're multiplying same bases, you add your exponents. So this is x to the 8th. A little tricky one on that one. Go to 10. Y cubed to the 4th, power to an exponent raised to an exponent, and y to the -2 to the 4th. Attempt this one yourself. Come back to see how you did. An exponent raised to an exponent, you multiply. So y to the 12th. An exponent raised to the exponent, you multiply. So y to the -8. Now we need to get this y to the -8 positive, so we're going to move it up top. Y to the 12th times y to the 8th. When you're multiplying like bases, you add the exponents. All right, number 11 is find each product and simplify. Product just means multiply. Again, if you have not attempted this, please do so before watching me do it. This is not a lecture. First thing I want to do is multiply my numbers. -2 times -3 times 5, and that is 30. Negative times a negative is positive, so everything's positive. Now with your exponents, because you're multiplying x to the 5th times x to the 4th times x cubed, because they're all the same bases that you're multiplying, you add your exponents. So this becomes 30x to the 5 plus 4 plus 3, which is 30x to the 12th. Again, attempt this one if you have not yet. This is just distribution is all this is, and simplify if you can. So to distribute, we're going to multiply 3y squared times each one of these. So it's going to be 3y squared times -7y squared plus 3y squared times 3y plus 3y squared times -6. Why am I putting plus in between here? Because the 3y squared is positive. If it was negative, I would put minus 3y squared. So 3 times -7 is -21. Multiplying y squared and y squared, because they're the same basis you're multiplying, you add your exponents. Positive times a positive is 3 times 3 is 9. Y squared times y, remember there's an assumed 1 here. If there's a y, there has to be a 1. It can't be y to the 0, because anything to the 0 is 1. So there has to be an assumed exponent of 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then 3 times -6 is -18, and there's only a y squared. Cannot combine anything else. They are not alike. All right, 13 is 3y minus 2, 4y squared plus 3y minus 5. Now, this is just going to be a distribution piece. You're going to take 3y times all of this and -2 times all of this. I'll show you what I mean. 3y times 4y squared plus 3y minus 5. And then -2 times the same thing. 4y squared plus 3y minus 5. So now it's going to be 3y times each of these. I'm going to write them out in case you need that. Plus 3y times 3y plus 3y times -5. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. -2 times 4y squared minus 2 times 3y minus 2 times -5. Now we just multiply each of these terms, combine like terms, and then simplify, and then we're done. 3 times 4 is 12. This is a y to the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. Because we're multiplying the bases, you add your exponents. Plus 3 times 3 is 9. This is a 1 and a 1. Y squared. Positive 3 minus 5. I'm sorry, positive 3 times -5 is -15. And we've only got that one y. -2 times positive 4 is -8. We've got a y squared. Negative times a positive is -6y. Negative times a negative is positive 10. Okay, we can combine some terms here. We've got 12y cubed, and then we've got a y squared and a y squared. Positive 9 minus 8 is plus y squared. Got a y and a y. Signs are the same, so -21 y and then plus 10. As you're going through this, write any questions you have. We can go over them in a review session, or I'm happy to meet with you outside of the review sessions I have scheduled. All right. That was 13, 14. 3x minus 5, 2x plus 1. All right, you can do multiple methods. You've got distribution method, you've got FOIL, you've got box method, whichever you choose to do. It looks like we've got a couple of these happening, so your choice on what you do here. I'll do the FOIL method since I haven't done that yet. You multiply the first two terms. You multiply the outer two terms. You multiply the inner two terms. And then you multiply the last two terms. I find it's easier just to put plus in between them. That way you can you only need to focus on what you're doing. The first two terms are the first two in each parenthesis. The outer are the outer two terms of each parenthesis. The inner is the inner two terms of each parenthesis. And then the last are the last two terms in the parentheses. The distribution method is the same thing as this. 3 times 2 is 6. X times x, remember these have exponents of 1, so x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x. Negative times a positive is negative. 5 times 2 is 10, and then we've got an x. And then a -5 times 1 is -5. Combining like terms, these two here. Positive 3 minus 10 is -7x minus 5. $15. So we've got x minus 6 squared. Again, attempt this before I do this. You've got a couple different ways we can do it. I'm going to do it 2 different ways so that you can see both. But pause the video so you at least have a chance of doing this right. All right. Because this is the binomial squared, we've got a couple different things. The first one is I can break it into 2 parentheses because it's just x minus 6 times itself. It's 2 of them. And then you can choose whichever method you want to multiply these. I'll use distribution method this time. So x times x minus 6 plus x times x minus, oh no, that doesn't work. X times x minus 6 minus 6 times x minus 6. All right. X times x is x squared. X times -6 is -6x. -6 times x is -6x. And then -6 times -6 is +36. Combining like terms, x squared minus 12x plus 36. Now, the other way to do this is to square the first. Now, this is really going to be used in college algebra, all of this part. Multiply them together and double it. You don't have to do both. You just need to choose one and do it. Multiply together and double, and then square the last. If you understood this, skip this part. You don't need to know how to do both. Square the first, so x squared, multiply them together, negative 6x, and double it. Negative 6 times 2 is negative 12x, and then square the last, plus 36. Two x, this is exactly the same thing. Again, pause the video, attempt it yourself, and come back. I'll do FOIL on this one. First is 2x times 2x. Outer is 2x times 3. Inner is 3 times 2x. And last is 3 times 3. All right, 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 3 is 9. Combine like terms. If you are still adding 4x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 9 and saying that is, I don't even know what you would say, 10, 16 plus, please don't do that. If you're still doing that, you need to go back to foundations, like the very beginning of this class. And you're going to, this is going to be hard. So you can only combine. If x squared, if you got a 4x squared, you can only combine it with other x squareds. That's why I'm saying you can only add these two, because they both only have an x. And then 9 doesn't have, there's no other constants in this, so it's just 9. 17. 5x plus 7. 5x plus 7. All right, 5x times 5x. This is again, just like the ones we just did. So you can FOIL, you can distribute. I'll go back to distribute on this one. 5x times 5x plus 7. And then plus 7 times 5x plus 7. There's the 5x, there's the 7, and they're both multiplied times the 5x plus 7. This becomes 5x times 5x plus 5x times 7, and then 7 times 5x, and then 7 times 7. So 25x squared plus 35x plus 35x plus 49. Combining like terms. 35 and 35 is 70. Don't forget your x, plus 49. The thing I did see on the last exam is a lot of people weren't bringing along their variables. And if you don't do that, you're going to just assume it's a constant and can add them. The variables are part of that. They're multiplied. You have to keep them with your numbers. Be careful. Slow down. Breathe. Oh my gosh, y'all, breathe. This does not identify who you are as a person. It's just a language. It's just math. Okay. You're not going to be doing this the rest of your life. I'm sorry for you on that. I love math. Okay. So this one we have to distribute. There's no special thing here. We're going to have to go a times this trinomial minus b times the same trinomial. So a times a squared plus ab plus b squared minus b times the same thing. All right, so A times A squared plus A times AB plus A times B squared minus B now times A squared minus B times AB minus B times B squared. This is an assumed 1 for these A's and the B's. If there's not a number with it, there's an assumed 1. Okay? So when you're multiplying like bases, and they're both A's, you add your exponents. So A to the third plus. Now, the A's can be combined, 1 plus 1, so that's A squared, and the B is just going to come along for the ride. Now, this one is plus AB squared. Oh, got it. All right. Now, the B's, we've got minus. I'm going to put them in order alphabetically. So A squared B. Same thing here, minus AB squared, because 1 plus 1 for the B's is 2, minus, now this one's just B cubed. Same basis, add your exponent. All right, combining like terms. This is A cubed. We've got A squared B, they're subtracted. So these are gone. And then we've got AB squared minus AB squared. These are gone. And we're left with minus B cubed. The difference of 2 cubes. We've seen that before. Okay, 19. Now, this is what you're going to need to be able to do for problem solving, statistics, and all of your science classes, every stinking one. If you haven't taken science, you're going to need scientific notation. All right, so this is taking 2.3 times 10 to the fourth. You can put this in your calculator, okay? You can go 2.3 times 10 caret 4, and it's going to give you the answer. All right. A problem of this is that going backwards, going into scientific notation. So whenever this is positive, you're going to have to multiply it. So it has to get bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4. Your decimal goes here. So this is 23,000. Nope. Number 20. 1.76 times 10 to the negative 3. Again, you can use your calculator. 1.76 times 10 exponent negative 3. Don't use minus 3, use negative 3, and you get your answer. The other way to do this, 1.76, and we're going to have to make it smaller, so we have to go to the left. 1, 2, 3. Put your decimal, and it's 0.00176. If you're an international student, these commas are for larger numbers, okay? The decimals, you cannot interchange decimals and commas. It doesn't work, all right? You're going to have to understand this is 73,900,000. These are not decimals. It doesn't even make sense to have 2 decimals. All right. So to make the scientific notation, you have to have one number in front of your decimal. So 7.39. And then now we need to figure out times 10 to the what? Well, the decimal's normally here. We want the decimal here. How many spaces is this to make it bigger? And it has to be positive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Check it. Put that in your calculator. 7.39 times 10 to the 7th. There's my answer. Okay. Check your work. Don't just blow through it. Number 22, 0.00062. So we have to have one number in front of the decimal. And then the rest of the numbers, as long as they're not zeros, right afterwards. Now it's going to be times 10 to the negative something because I'm having to move my decimal to the right to make this bigger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. Check it. 6.2 times 10 to the -4. There's the same answer. Use your calculators. That is it. Let me know what questions you have. Hopefully you took good, got good answers for understanding it better. Let's meet at a review session if you need to, or even at a private review session. I'm happy to do that too. All right. Have a great day. Good luck and let me know what you need.